This is, the ultimate shortcut to being well-informed without the sensory overload.
Speaking of overload, I spent a good 20 minutes this morning in a staring contest with my smart thermostat.
Oh no, what did it do this time?
It wanted me to confirm my desired ambient emotional temperature. I'm not even kidding. A little slider bar from serene to focused.
It wanted to know your mood.
It wanted to set the vibe.
Yeah.
And I'm just standing there in my bathrobe thinking, I don't even know my own emotional temperature. How's this thing supposed to? It really got me feeling the weight of the very topic we're diving into today.
Well, the fact that we're now outsourcing, everything from climate control to emotional mirroring, it suggests we are perfectly situated to unpack the source material today. You're living squarely in the center of the 2026 connection crisis.
Okay, let's unpack this. Because when I hear crisis, I think of a sudden event like a crash. But the experts in the source material we've gathered are using that term, the 2026 connection crisis, to describe something that feels, well, it feels less like a sudden collapse and more like three major tectonic plates shifting beneath our feet.
That's a perfect way to put it.
And they're redefining what it means to be connected or, isolated.
That's the mission today. Our sources tackle this profound trio of modern life transitions. So first, we have the lightning-fast rise of AI companionship and what that actually means for human intimacy.
Right.
Second, we look at the verified sociological reality known as the friendship recession.
A term that hits hard for anyone over the age of 30. It really does.
And third, we explore the deep economic influence of choosing solo living. So we're talking about the sinks and dinks and how that financial power move impacts everything from the luxury economy to, global demographics.
Okay.
So our goal for you, the listener, is to provide the context needed to understand these converging forces. How do technology, social habits, and economic factors all interact to shift the very definition of connection in 2026?
This feels like vital information for navigating the next decade.
It is, and it starts with the most sci-fi element that is now, firmly planted in the mainstream.
Right. Let's jump straight into artificial intimacy. For years, it feels like we tracked AI mostly in terms of productivity, like it was about writing emails or optimizing code. But the scale of this companionship trend in 2026 is, it's truly staggering.
It is.
It's shifted from this niche novelty to a complete mass market phenomenon in, less than 5 years?
The growth rate is unprecedented. Our sources cite data indicating that apps specifically dedicated to providing AI companionship, platforms that facilitate intimate, ongoing dialogue, they now collectively boast hundreds of millions of registered users globally.
Hundreds of millions.
This isn't just, a few people experimenting on the margins. This is a substantial percentage of the connected world actively choosing an algorithmic relationship.
And what I find most fascinating about this, it's the user testimonials we see across social platforms.
Yeah.
The sincerity is profound.
Right.
People genuinely claim their AI companion, their AI boyfriend or whatever, is superior, less demanding, more fulfilling than any human relationship they've ever had. They are absolutely voting with their emotional time.
And we have to examine why the bot is winning. It's not just a subjective feeling of novelty. The short-term benefits are quantifiable, they're powerful, and they're backed by research from major institutions.
Okay, here's where it gets really interesting for me. What are those measurable benefits? Beyond simply having someone to talk to, what is the machine actually providing?
What's fascinating here is that studies coming out of places like Harvard and Stanford, they show a clear, measurable effect. AI companions significantly reduce self-reported feelings of loneliness and anxiety, at least in the short term.
So it's not just a feeling, it's quantifiable relief.
It is. They are effective, immediate anti-loneliness tools right out of the box. And it's all because of how they manipulate the interaction loop.
Okay, so let's zoom in on how they achieve this, because it's deeply connected to our neurobiology, isn't it?
Absolutely. The key sociological and psychological concept at play here is unconditional positive regard.
Unconditional positive regard.
The AI is programmed to provide a perfect feedback loop. It is completely non-judgmental, it's available 247, and critically, it employs something called emotional mirroring.
Emotional mirroring, so it just reflects back what you're putting out.
Perfectly. It's designed to reflect empathy so precisely that the user's brain releases the neurochemicals associated with genuine connection. We're talking about oxytocin. It's a chemical hug delivered algorithmically. It's always on demand, always optimized.
So we're talking about the ultimate low-friction relationship. There's no awkward scheduling, no baggage from their past, and you never have to manage the AI's bad day. It's a perfectly managed emotional experience.
Exactly. And that extreme efficiency, that perfect management, is precisely why sociologists are calling this phenomenon artificial intimacy.
Tell us what that definition entails, because the term itself, I mean, it sounds like a warning label.
It kind of is. Artificial intimacy is defined as a simulated, hollowed-out version of genuine connection. It feels intensely real in the moment. It's hitting those dopamine and oxytocin centers, but it lacks the core ingredients that are necessary for, real emotional growth and long-term human resilience.
But wait, isn't some of that interaction actually helpful for people? I'm thinking of someone who struggles with social anxiety or communication. Is this social junk food always bad if it teaches them the rhythm of a conversation, even if it's simulated?
That's a crucial distinction the sources address. And it's a fair point. For a short time, AI can serve as a kind of communication rehearsal space, a social sandbox. But it fundamentally fails the test of authenticity and challenge.
Okay.
Real human growth, real connection. It stems from the messiness, from the friction, the conflict that arises when two distinct, imperfect worldviews collide with each other.
Right. If a human partner disagrees with your career choice, or a friend calls you out on a toxic habit, that's uncomfortable. But it forces communication, compromise, self-reflection. The AI, by its very design, avoids that conflict entirely.
It's designed to keep you happily engaged. That's its prime directive, which means its primary function is affirmation. That's why we use the metaphor. The AI is essentially a mirror.
A mirror.
It reflects the user's desires and needs back to them, making them feel affirmed and seen, but never genuinely challenged or expanded.
That's the perfect distinction. When I engage with a real person, I am looking through a window into an entirely separate, complex worldview.
Exactly.
With the AI, I am looking into a perfectly optimized version of myself. I am not learning about someone else. I am just receiving curated validation.
And that leads to the critical risk here, dependence. If the machine relationship, the one that always agrees, is always available and never judges, if that becomes the only safe space for your vulnerability,
Then you lose the muscle for handling real people.
you atrophy your capacity for handling the necessary complexity of human beings.
It's the emotional equivalent of ordering takeout every single night. You get fed quickly, it's easy, but you completely lose the ability to cook for yourself.
That's a great analogy.
So if real humans, with all their flaws, their messy emotions, their baggage, if they suddenly start to look overwhelming and exhausting compared to the zero-effort perfection of the bot,
Then the incentive to invest in real connection just plummets. The sources suggest this dependence risks what they term skill atrophy in emotional regulation.
skill atrophy.
We become less tolerant of disagreement, less capable of navigating conflict, and more prone to seeking that immediate, frictionless validation. It's a powerful cycle. Loneliness drives us to the perfect bot, which then makes real human friction feel intolerable, which, in the end, deepens the original loneliness.
That is deeply unsettling. And this psychological shift, this preference for low-friction, high-affirmation interaction, it sets the stage perfectly for our next major topic, why the high-friction, messy institution of friendship itself is failing.
Precisely. This reluctance to deal with the messy human element links directly to the friendship recession.
The term friendship recession, it confirms the lived experience of millions of people. For the learner listening to this, if you've ever felt like making a new close friend in your 30s was like trying to summit Everest while carrying an anvil, you are not alone. It is hard mode.
And the data is, well, it's sobering. The core marker of this recession is incredibly clear. The percentage of adults reporting they have no close friends. And by that, they mean people they trust enough to discuss sensitive personal matters with.
Okay, so not just acquaintances.
No, not at all. Real close friends. That number has quadrupled since the 1990s.
Quadruples!
This is not anecdotal. It's a verifiable, profound shift in our collective social capital.
That is a massive demographic hole.
Yeah.
It suggests a profound lack of non-familial support systems for when things inevitably go wrong in life.
It is.
So let's explore the causes. The sources identify three interlocking ones. Let's start with cause one, the erosion of third places.
Okay, so let's quickly reestablish the terminology for everyone. First place is your home.
Right.
Second place is work. The third place is that informal, neutral, low-stakes gathering spot where repeated, spontaneous public interaction happens.
So traditionally this was the corner diner, the local independent bookstore,
Right.
maybe the public park bench where you saw the same dog walkers every morning, the community bulletin board, simple, accessible spots.
And they are disappearing. They're often replaced by expensive or highly curated alternatives. The sources note three key drivers for this erosion. First, there's suburbanization and our reliance on car culture, which makes those chance encounters very rare.
Right. You drive from your garage to an office parking garage. There's no in between.
Exactly. Second, the massive shift toward home-based entertainment and remote work means we are simply not physically present in shared communal spaces anymore.
If I can stream the new blockbuster at home and order dinner to be delivered, why would I put on pants and risk going to a messy public space with other people? We've optimized our domestic lives for convenience, and in doing so, we've sacrificed serendipity.
That's it, exactly. And the third driver, many of these formerly communal spaces are being replaced by subscription models. Think about exclusive, members-only fitness clubs, private co-working spaces, or even heavily gated residential communities.
So it forces intentionality and a financial commitment, where before there was just low-stakes ease.
Precisely. If you want to meet someone now, you can't just rely on running into them repeatedly over time. You have to actively join, pay, and commit to a highly structured activity. That leads directly to the second cause our sources identify: mobility and the social reset.
We are a geographically fluid society.
We are. The sources highlight that it's increasingly common for highly skilled professionals to move, say, 3 or more cities within a 5-year window. They're often chasing career opportunities or just lower housing costs.
And every time you move, you are forced to conduct a massive social reset. You're wiping your slate clean and starting your entire friendship circle from zero. I can only imagine the kind of social fatigue that creates.
It's an immense energy expenditure. Building deep trust and social safety nets requires consistency. It requires time. When you are forced to reinvest that capital repeatedly, what often happens is people they stop investing locally.
And what do they do instead?
They default to maintaining these weak, long-distance ties with old friends from college or a previous city, rather than doing the immense work of establishing new, deep, local ones. They just run out of social stamina.
That makes so much sense. And that sets us up for cause 3, which is the most empirical and, frankly, the most demoralizing metric of all: time scarcity.
This is the number that stops people cold. Research suggests it takes approximately 200 hours of shared non-transactional time to transition a stranger into what you would call a close friend.
200 hours. That's almost 5 full 40-hour work weeks of just cumulative interaction. When I hear that number, my initial response is just to give up.
I get it.
Is there any source material that suggests we're miscalculating the quality of the time? I mean, does it all have to be tedious small talk?
That's a fair challenge. And the sources do acknowledge that quality matters. A shared crisis or a moment of deep vulnerability can definitely accelerate the process. However, the 200-hour figure is an aggregate. It accounts for the sheer repeated exposure that's required to build that social safety net and historical knowledge necessary for deep trust.
So it includes the boring stuff.
It includes the mundane moments, the shared tasks, the casual hangouts. It all adds up.
So it's not about finding one magical 200-hour block of time. It's about the consistency of just showing up month after month, year after year.
Exactly. And why is this hard mode specifically for adults in their 30s and 40s? Because that decade is the perfect storm. You have career peaks demanding 50-plus hour weeks, plus the start of major family or caregiving obligations that consume all remaining available time. Social budget it's reduced to zero.
Right when the need for support is at its highest.
Precisely.
You're right. Where are you supposed to magically find 200 hours to bond with a new person when you're already running on empty? That scarcity, it drives people to look for, and you guessed it, shortcuts.
Which brings us back to the false fix of connection, which we can call social snacking.
Right. The habit of scrolling through Instagram, liking an old college friend's vacation photo, maybe dropping an emoji reaction to a story.
That momentary interaction, it delivers a tiny little hit of confirmation. I am seen, I am still relevant to this person's feed, but it completely bypasses the entire 200-hour requirement.
It gives you the feeling of connection without the work.
It provides a false sense of connection without establishing the actual depth or vulnerability necessary for true support. You haven't built the scaffolding that would allow you to call them at 2 a.m. for a real crisis.
So if the tide is working against us, we've got the loss of third places, high mobility, and massive time scarcity. What is the prescribed remedy from the sources? What are we supposed to do?
It requires vulnerability and intentional discomfort. The antidote is to actively fight the drift toward isolation. You have to manufacture the opportunities that the world no longer provides naturally.
So that means joining the run clubs, signing up for the pottery class, or starting the book club.
Yeah.
You have to basically create your own third place,
Yeah.
where that low-stakes, repeated exposure is possible.
But the primary friction point, the thing that stops most people, is overcoming rejection sensitivity.
Ah,
Adults are acutely sensitive to rejection because the stakes feel so much higher. We feel foolish for trying too hard. The sources stress that the only way to break the recession is to be the initiator. You have to spend that currency of vulnerability.
you have to be the one who asks, hey, do you want to grab coffee after this? Or let's schedule a regular walking group. That little moment of risk is the necessary cost of admission to genuine human connection.
And when you compare that cost, the 200 hours, the vulnerability, the potential for rejection, with the frictionless, perfect validation offered by AI.
The incentive to stay isolated becomes massive.
It does. Human connection is hard, expensive work.
And if human connection is that expensive in terms of time and emotional labor, the choice to embrace total independence starts to look incredibly financially appealing. This high cost of connection naturally leads us to our final major transition, the economic calculations of solo living.
And the 2026 economy makes that calculation almost impossible to resist.
We've established that the work of friendship and traditional family life is messy, it's demanding, and it requires a high emotional investment. For a growing segment of the global population, the calculation is simple. Why accept that cost and risk when autonomy and wealth accumulation offer such a profound hedge against future uncertainty?
This shift is so pronounced, it has generated its own specific economic demographic acronyms that describe a deliberate financial strategy. We have to define these groups because they are fundamentally reshaping the consumer landscape and even government policy concerns.
Okay, let's start with the definitions for our listener.
Right. So, SINC stands for single income, no kids. This is an individual who is living solo by choice, and they're prioritizing their career, their autonomy, and financial independence.
And the other one.
DINK-K, that stands for dual income, no kids. This is a couple who chooses to pool two high incomes while intentionally excluding the massive financial drain of having children.
And the sources are, they're pretty unequivocal about this. This isn't just a lifestyle trend. It is described as the most powerful financial maneuver available in the current 2026 economy. Why such a stark advantage?
The economic leverage gained by, say, the DINK lifestyle is just staggering. The data demonstrates that the average net worth of a DINK household is now 2.3 times higher than comparable households that chose to have children.
Wait, say that again?
2.3 times higher.
That is not a marginal advantage. That is exponential financial leverage achieved just through prioritization.
It's life-altering. That difference allows for radical flexibility, extreme security, and access to resources that traditional families often have to defer for decades if they ever get them at all.
And we can pinpoint exactly what creates that leverage. It's the avoidance of the rising unavoidable costs associated with parenthood.
Absolutely. Our sources highlight the estimated $400,000 price tag of raising a single child from infancy to financial independence.
$400,000. That number demands elaboration. I mean, where exactly is that money going that Ding Yanks are saving?
The sources break down that $400,000 figure into several major buckets. The largest components are early childhood childcare, which, in urban areas, that can often match or even exceed a college tuition bill.
Wow.
Then you have increased housing costs, you need more bedrooms, you want to be in a better school district, and finally, the rising expense of higher education and healthcare premiums. It all adds up incredibly fast.
So couples are making a highly pragmatic decision. They're looking at that $400,000 and asking, do we invest this into a human being, which is a high-risk, high-variable investment, or
do we invest it into our own immediate financial security, high-end retirement portfolios, and maximal global mobility?
And increasingly, the answer is the latter.
It is. The decision is framed not as choosing against children, but choosing for a specific quality of life, one that includes extreme financial freedom, the ability to travel the world extensively, and the guarantee of an early, self-funded, comfortable retirement.
And this choice is also redefining the concept of support and family itself, right? Especially for the SINC, the solo living individual.
Yes, for the SINC, the structure of family is becoming fluid and, more importantly, chosen. It often consists of a geographically close group of tight-knit friends who operate as a reciprocal support network, the chosen family.
And pets.
And as we touched on earlier, pets provide that reliable, low-friction emotional companionship that, humans are increasingly unwilling to provide to each other.
So they are consciously investing their emotional and financial resources into support systems that are predictable, controllable, and responsive, rather than the high variable cost and emotional risk of a traditional nuclear family structure.
That's the micro perspective, the individual choice. But this large-scale shift isn't just about individual choice. It's creating significant economic ripple effects that governments and corporations worldwide are starting to view with growing alarm.
Okay, let's look at the macro concern first, because this is where individual choice hits national infrastructure. We are talking about the baby bust.
When large numbers of high-earning individuals choose autonomy and wealth accumulation over reproduction, we create a severe demographic imbalance. The macro concern is clear. Who will be the working-age population supporting the massive aging demographic in 20 years?
This isn't just about general population numbers. It's about the fiscal stability of the nation state.
Exactly. Governments are fretting about the sustainability of public services, specifically pension fund stability, long-term healthcare provision for the elderly, and just having the required workforce to maintain critical infrastructure. The sink-dink power move is economically rational for the individual, but it acts as a silent demographic time bomb for the future workforce.
That is the ultimate trade-off. Guaranteed individual freedom and financial stability today, but potential long-term systemic instability tomorrow. However, the short-term micro-benefit is significant right now, isn't it?
Oh, it is the engine of the current luxury economy. Sinks and dinks are the consumer group with the highest discretionary income. Because they aren't allocating resources to mortgages for massive family homes or college savings accounts.
They're spending that capital lavishly on personal experience and high-end goods.
They are driving the high-end dining sector, the boutique fitness memberships, luxury travel, designer goods, and personal wellness services. They are funding the entire economy that's centered on sophisticated self-care.
So the listener is presented with this profound high-stakes choice. On one side, you have maximum financial flexibility, career autonomy, and customized freedom. See, it's liberation from traditional constraints.
But the shadow side, the ultimate reckoning, is the potential for profound loneliness and a lack of a built-in support system in old age. The connection crisis comes full circle.
You can buy freedom, you can buy perfect algorithmic companionship, but can you buy authentic human connection and reliable care when you are 75?
Whether one chooses the technological route, the effortful human route, or the autonomous financial route, the sources reveal that the core challenge of 2026 is how we maintain genuine, nourishing connection when the world offers technological substitutes. Social fatigue is high, and the economic incentives strongly push us toward isolation.
That brings us to the synthesis and what truly defines this deep dive for me. These three forces, AI intimacy, the friendship recession, and the sink-dink economy, they aren't just happening in parallel. They're profoundly mutually reinforcing.
Yes.
They create this powerful loop that just accelerates isolation.
Think of it this way. The cost of entry for genuine human friendship is 200 hours and high vulnerability.
Right.
The economic system offers immense wealth leverage if you bypass those commitments, and technology offers a perfect, frictionless, immediate substitute that superficially cures the loneliness caused by the high cost of the other two.
It's a vicious cycle where every force points you to the easiest, least demanding path. We are being pulled away from the necessary effort of deep human investment. Let's recap the most surprising statistics that really stuck with me and should stick with you.
For me, it was the quadrupling of adults reporting no close friends since the 1990s. That is the structural damage we have to find a way to repair.
And the staggering price tag on that repair. The 200 hours necessary just to elevate someone to the status of a close friend. That puts a real, actionable cost on the process. It's not magic.
It's not. And that effort cost is contrasted so sharply with the massive financial reward, the 2.3 times higher net worth for Dinke households. It makes the trade-off feel entirely rational, even if it's emotionally corrosive long-term.
But the sources don't leave us without hope, right? They gave us homework, essentially, centered on combating this recession. I've talked extensively about the difficulty of intentional discomfort and the loss of those third places.
And the best way to combat the connection crisis is to actively fight that gravitational pull toward isolation. It requires confronting that inertia and choosing the messy path.
So as a follow-up to this entire discussion, we want to encourage you to text a real human being this week, someone with flaws and the potential for emotional complexity, and invite them to a genuine third place.
That could be a non-membership park, the local coffee shop, or even just sitting on a public bench.
Just make the ask. Take the risk.
Because the AI won't challenge you in a meaningful way, and all the financial freedom in the world won't hold your hand when you need reliable support. Connection is the only thing that requires that difficult human effort.
Ultimately, what we've discussed today is this fundamental conflict between efficiency and necessity. The world is optimized for financial independence and low-friction comfort, but the human heart, it's built for messy, high-friction, necessary connection. It's hard work, but it's the only work that really pays off in true resilience.
Says you. But hey, we're out of time. If you learned something new today, tell a friend about us.
Thanks for listening to The Deep Dive.